Hey everyone. So I just finished wrapping up a video I had just done, just probably 10 minutes prior. And it was all in regards to Sargon of Akkad's Minds page, minds.com. By the way, great site. I suggest you head on over there, make an account, and when you do, subscribe to mine over there, Canadian Libertarian. Anyways, I was basically talking about the fact that now they're trying to come up with a petition, and he was supporting it, of trying to make it so that the Antifa, the anti-fascists, right, that group, that organization, label them as a terrorist organization, right? So using the state towards your opponents, right? And they want to have a petition so that they would be subsequently considered a terrorist organization and be treated as such, right? And I was saying, wait a minute, don't you realize that that kind of premise, right, could very well, be used against a group or organization that you may very well support or align with? Don't contribute to that race to the bottom. Stop using the state. Use intellect. Do what you do. Use social media. Use your voice. Go out and do community activism. Do whatever you have to. But don't turn to the state, right, as a means to suppress or oppress your political opponents, even if they are violent. Because that's the thing. When you talk about organization, you're basically trying to paint everybody within that organization with one broad brush. And as we know, well, anyone that respects and appreciates and promotes the individual, not everyone's the same. We're not all a collective. Even though there are some people that may present and put forth that kind of dialogue, that kind of narrative, we all know that each person is individual. Let's hold each individual to account. And I had no longer finished making this video, and I come across this headline article from the Globe Mail. So like I said, watch how that will be used against you, and it's already being used by someone on the opposing side of the political aisle. This is Stephanie McClellan, headline out of the Globe and Mail, by the way. Social networks should treat far-right extremists like Islamic State. So that's the exact same dialogue. That's the same a narrative she's putting forth and presented, just from the opposite side of the political spectrum. Start treating people they could deem as far right, which who gets to deem that, right? Who gets to determine who's far right, or who gets to determine who's an anti-fascist, right? You're talking about giving that power to the state, to the people that are truly the most vicious and vile, authoritarian in nature and oppressive among us, right? Bad idea, right? And I'm telling people from both sides of the political spectrum, stop contributing to this race to the bottom. Stephanie needs to fucking stop. Sargon needs to stop. All you people need to just stop. Think, take a few deep breaths, and think before you speak. Important advice. Let's see, though, what Stephanie here's got to say. Stephanie McClellan is a research associate with the Center for International Governance Innovation, specializing in internet governance and cybersecurity. So she's a globalist. Basically, a global communist is what you're saying, right? Like I said, so they would want to paint their people on the political right that they would perceive as their political opposition or political opponents in that negative light so that they can suppress or oppress them in some way. Holy shit. In the aftermath of last weekend's deadly protests in Charlottesville, tech companies have been blocking far-right extremist groups from their services. This has led to a debate over freedom of expression on the internet and the role of companies such as Facebook, Twitter, and Google in limiting it. Which you shouldn't be putting these companies in any position to have to dictate or control or manipulate anything to pick sides, right? Freedom of speech, especially in an American company, freedom of speech in the U.S., as confirmed by the Supreme Court once again, there's no such thing. No such thing as hate speech in the U.S. under the First Amendment. The First Amendment. Freedom of speech is of paramount importance to the entire system of governance or to the philosophical or political nature of that country. So, and these corporations, which are, quasi parts of government to a degree at this point, right? At this stage, right? Respect individual freedom and freedom of speech. Even stuff you don't like. What's that old saying too? I may detest everything you say. I'm paraphrasing here, but I will fight to the death to defend your ability to say it, right? Can we try to get back to that, right? That's how we're going to educate and elevate people. Try to drive people that you oppose into the underground. Well, like I say, then they'll pop up out of nowhere and you'll be like, oh, it's shocking. No, not shocking at all. Just cause and effect. But if it was a different violent extremist group, say the so-called Islamic State, there would be no debate. In fact, tech giants have been booting off ISIS supporters for more than a year and disrupting their networks on social media, and there has been no serious outcry. Why should one group of violent extremists be treated differently than another? So once again, you're getting the right-wingers now that are saying the same thing. Well, why treat the alt-righters or right-wingers or white supremacists in one way and give Antifa or Black Lives Matter? Like, how racial is that? I mean, it's written right into the words, Black Lives Matter. It's not all lives matter, it's Black Lives Matter, right? So they're a political group that's using violence as a means to an end. And I mean, we all know about that guy that shot the cops, however many of them, what is it, from a rooftop or whatever that's happened. It's been a while now, but you've probably heard about this in the media, or how much violence, and you've seen the kind of destruction and devastation and store owners that were robbed, right, and looted by these groups, and for what? They didn't do anything, right? It's just this collective mentality, this collective race to the bottom, and we got to stay above the fray here, folks. That's why I try to put forward and present my kind of narrative and dialogue, even though, like I say, it's just a whisper in a storm, but hey, I try. I'll speak as loud as I can, and I'll speak as often as I can, and hope that enough people will, finally start to say, hey, maybe Bennett's the person that we should be listening to, because he at least seems to not want to align with any particular ideologically driven narrative or political party or gang. I'm just trying. And I'm not perfect. I have my own personal biases, but I will let you know them. And for the most part, I try to keep them in my back pocket, right? In the hopes that I can help educate and inform and elevate the conversation to a level that's not way, way, way down there. Anyways, I'll post a link to this article in the description of the video below. I don't really feel like reading through this whole thing. I basically get the idea of where she's trying to go with this. But once again, why is this happening for both sides? Well, like I say, Let's those of us who are independent and critical thinkers, let's reject people from both sides of the political aisle. Let's try to help educate, elevate, and inform people properly. Sikane Libertarian, and I love liberty.